The collections continue to roll in MLB 25 because on July 27th, the new Legends and Flashback collection will be dropping the same day that we will see some new Hall of Fame content. And the amount of smaller collections we have in MLB 25 is getting pretty wild, so there's a lot that we have to keep track of. So I want to go over these collections, give you guys some advice for what you can be doing before the new big collection drops, and then give you my thoughts for which collections are good candidates for the collection that will be most expensive and that you should skip. So before I go over what you should be doing to prepare for the collection, the question many are asking is, who will this new big collection reward be? Now, the new Legends and Flashback collection is conveniently the day that a few former MLB players will be getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, including CC Sabathia, Billy Wagner, and Ichiro. Now, we will be getting a smaller collection for the Hall of Fame, so I would guess CC Sabathia is probably that reward, and that the big Legends and Flashback collection probably won't be any of these guys. And I wish it could be Ichiro, but considering we just haven't seen him this year, he probably is not a new legend this year. And I also assume, since we already got a third baseman as one big collection reward in Scott Rowland, and then the other one, Ted Williams, was like a left field, right field option right here, I think that these three positions are kind of just off the table for whoever this new collection reward will be. And I think most likely the positions we would get would either be shortstop, second base, or first base. I think there's definitely a good chance that whoever this player is will be a player who recently got inducted into the Hall of Fame, just because this collection is the exact day of the Hall of Fame induction, so I think they could stay on that theme of Hall of Famers. I just have a hard time seeing any of the inductees this year getting that big collection reward. But let me know your guys' thoughts, whether you agree, disagree on that. So then my first piece of advice I would give for all of you is, I would go into the multiplayer program, go to the couple rewind packs in here, and all of these cards that were once very expensive are now going to be super cheap. So I would go in and buy all of these, and many of these cards are from some of the more expensive collections. Like, there's a lot of All-Star Series cards in here. There's a few standouts. So these are going to be cards you guys want for some of these collections anyways, and they're going to be very, very cheap. We also have one for the BR Flawless Rewind Pack, and all of these, same thing. All of them are going to be very cheap, near quick sell value. So you might as well go in and just buy all of them. And again, there's some second half cards in here. There's some All-Star cards. There are some awards cards, so some really good ones in here for very cheap. Another thing worth mentioning is that if you're going through your collections and you see some cards that are just sitting at quick sell price, similar to the ones we just looked at, and you have some stubs to play around with, it's really not a bad idea to invest in some of these cards, because the absolute worst case is that you can just sell them back at quick sell price and break even with your stubs. But many of these card prices will increase as the demand goes way up for them. But let's go over all the collections I would be paying attention to now before the big collection actually drops. Starting off with the draft collection, with the newer ones, all-star related ones, and that's the draft collection here, where you can find 11 players from the actual draft program itself. There also is one kind of hiding in this all-star game program that you can get for free just from playing the game. And then there also are going to be, I think it's 3 more from this draft conquest map right here for completing. I think it's just basically conquering the strongholds, which, I mean, most of you have done this conquest, I would imagine, by now, but 3 more in there. And then also, if we just go back, actually, in something I forgot to mention too, I don't know how, is in that actual conquest map we were just on, remember, there is that repeatable draft pack that you can get for completing the map each time. So if you don't want to buy out some of the players, even though they are very cheap, you can repeat this. Just keep getting the pack right there, opening it up, and finishing off the collection that way. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of cheap cards. You might have to buy like one, I think it's like one expensive card, like fairly expensive card you might have to buy. Otherwise, the rest of the cards are going to be cheap. So up to you whether you want to spend the stubs, if you have the stubs, or just grind out that conquest map, get that pack, and get the cards that way. But that's pretty much it for the draft. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy, not too expensive. And then there's the Home Run Derby collection, which that Rooker card is completely free from completing the Home Run Derby program. And then there are a few other ways of obtaining these cards for completely free. One of which you can get from a free pack from one of the vouchers. As long as you made all the predictions here, you will, and you probably have unlocked this already, but there is a free pack from that which you can pick up. There also is another free Home Run Derby pack, actually from the Home Run Derby program, where I mentioned Rooker before, but the reward before that is a free pack. And then there also is another free pack in the All-Star Game Conquest as a goal in here, if I can find it. And it is, I think, just for completing the entire thing. Yeah, you can get it right there. So basically, you can get 3 free packs from that. I think there's one like in the multiplayer program as well, a ways in. But then, so basically from that, you'll have 4 of the 7 cards needed for Cal. And then you can kind of just be patient getting the last few cards, wait for more of these packs to be obtainable in later drops, or just go ahead and buy them. I think this 99 Cal is incredible, so if you have to spend a decent chunk of stubs, as long as you have the stubs, I think this collection would be worth just completing, getting it done, and not skipping just because of how good that Cal is. But then moving on to the All-Star Game collection, the big thing you should do right now before this big collection drops is Team Affinity. Complete all 30 teams, because that is 30 of the 55 cards needed for Judge and for completing that collection. And I would say the same thing for any other TA too. I would focus on getting all the Team Affinity cards from any drop, just because they're going to be very easy to get, not going to cost you anything. And then there are 16 players in the All-Star Game pack, some of which you'll get for free from free All-Star Game packs, just from grinding different programs. But then there also are 7 more players that you can get from completing the All-Star Game program in here. The other thing worth mentioning when it comes to this collection is you technically do not need to complete the All-Star themed mini season right here. You just might need to buy up some cards instead. But if you grind out Team Affinity, you grind out the program I mentioned, picking up those other All-Star cards, and then you pick up some of the pack players from the packs you'll be obtaining just by playing the game and moving through some of the programs, the conquest maps. You can finish the collection off just by buying up some of those cards or being patient and waiting for more ways to obtain this All-Star pack. But this should not be incredibly expensive to actually finish off this collection. And these reward cards are going to be worth it. They're going to be very good. So I would just do this. I would not skip this one. It might get a little bit expensive if you don't play through mini seasons or Diamond Quest, whatever, but I think that one is worth doing and completing to get some of those collection rewards. Spotlight Series is interesting because obviously right now there's more of these cards than ever before, but the prices on these cards have all come down a lot over the last month or so. Like the Spotlight cards from April, May, and June are all super cheap at this point, and even the July ones aren't horrible in price either. But then you also have the Spotlight cards that you can get for just grinding the Spotlight programs, and you can get them for completely free. The ones that you can buy though, I would try to buy up soon, because I could see a situation where these prices shoot back up around the time the new big collection comes out. And this is something that I did recently, and right now I have pretty much every Spotlight card in the game. For the Prime collection, as long as you completed the Prime program, you'll get 7 players from this. And just from grinding the game and finishing programs, you'll get plenty of the deluxe Prime packs as well, so you can add more Prime players from this. But then most of these Prime cards will be very cheap right now, so you can just go ahead and buy up a few more that you need for cheap. And really the only expensive Prime card right now in the game, maybe this changes once the collection drops, but as of now, really the only expensive one is this Mike Napoli, who's over 70,000 at this moment. I wouldn't go out and buy them though, because I think odds are you're going to be able to skip a Prime card anyways, so you might as well pick up all of the other cards, just skip out on Napoli for now, and that's how I would approach that. Summer Series, you can find these cards from the Summer program, which most of you probably have done already, the Summer Mini Seasons, and then the Summer Pack, which those cards are all going to be around quick sell price at this moment, but then also the Summer Diamond Quest map as well, which are going to be more expensive, but you can just grind for anyways. You can complete this collection, though, without needing the expensive Willie Mays right here, who is, still sitting above 50K. And then also, you do not need the Jackson Holiday if you don't want, and basically you can just grind all of the offline content and then just buy up the cheaper pack cards if you need any of those. And you're basically going to have that one done if you don't already. Another one you might have done, but just want to touch on briefly, is Pipeline Pass, because you need one of either Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who's still pretty expensive, or the Kyle Schwarber. And then a lot of these cards, you know, you can just get from the program, you can get from the pack, kind of like we've talked about with the last couple. But like I said, you will need one of the Schwarber or the Vlad if you don't already. Both are still actually sitting at a pretty decent price, so that just take that into account when you're looking at the Pipeline Past collection. So I know Moonshot is another one most of you probably have done already, but just very quickly, most of these can be from the program, mini seasons, and then from the pack as well, which these cards are going to be cheap from the pack for the most part. But you will need one of these expensive ones, the Mullins, the Bichette, or the Candelario. You will need to lock in one of those to actually get up to 41 cards. But the good thing is you just need one of them. Probably have this one done anyways, like I said. And the rest of these I'm not really going to like go into depth on, like New Threads, the Egg Hunt, right? Like a lot of these, you guys are, you know, it's very simple and easy to get done, and odds are you have them done anyways by now. But so the next one I just want to cover is awards, which you'll probably in here be able to skip like 2, maybe 3 of these when the big collection drops. And many of these cards can be found in the multiplayer program and are very cheap right now. But the Joe Morgan is super expensive. He's over 100K. The Burns is expensive right here, and then the Joe Mauer is another expensive card. So right now, I would just get all of the cheap cards, all of the cards other than those 3 cards, and kind of just hold off on those other 3 because eventually they will come down in price, or at least most of them will. And odds are like you might be able to skip them anyways, right? So I would just hold off on that. In Milestone, Joe Nathan is like the only expensive one, but he's really expensive. But keep in mind, once the new multiplayer program drops, his price is also going to drop a ton because he's going to be coming out in that rewind pack, and you probably can skip this card anyways when he drops. But then, yeah, the video game numbers program, some of these cards come from. There's a few other cheap ones. And then this Zimmerman card right here comes from the NL East Live Series collection reward, which probably a lot of you have done already by now. So as far as the collection that I think would be worth skipping once the big new collection drops, one option is the All-Star Series collection right here that I'm showing you. Just because there's a bunch of these cards that are like 25, 30K and up, and this is the one I'm probably going to skip just because there's a number of these cards, and yes, we will be able to skip some of these cards while still being able to fully complete or pick up the voucher for this one. But there's just a lot that are, like I said, kind of in that 20 to like 60,000 range that I'm showing you right here. And yeah, I'm just going to probably skip this one because I have most of the other card series I have very good progress on. So that's just my opinion or what I'm going to do. If you don't have the 98 overall home run derby cards though, this one will be expensive, but I just think Cal is worth getting, and more opportunities to get these cards will be available soon anyways. And I would eventually get this one done and just not skip it, but this could be another option to skip for those of you who have none of those 98 overalls. Second half has a number of expensive cards too, and then there's a bunch of Live Series collection rewards as cards in here. So just look at how expensive this is for you. This would be another option to skip, just depending on how expensive it looks for you guys personally, how many cards you have, how many you need, how expensive are the cards that you need, all of that. So just something else to look into. And then the final couple would be Spotlight and Tops Now. So Spotlight, as I kind of mentioned before, they're fairly cheap, but there's a good amount of these, right? So if you have a lot to buy still, might be worth skipping. And then Tops Now is very similar, where some of these cards you buy, some of them you get for grinding out the Spotlight program, but there's just the sheer quantity of them makes it expensive if you need to buy a lot of them, right? Like none of them are going to be that expensive, I guess, other than the one really. There's one expensive one, but for the most part, these are going to be fairly cheap. There's just so many of them. So check your collection, see how many you have, and these are going to add up if you need a lot, so it might be worth skipping, but that's up to you. So those are my thoughts on the big new collection that's coming, and just some things that I would recommend you start doing now or grinding before it actually releases, so you're close as possible to unlocking this reward once it actually drops. But let me know in the comments if there's anything else you guys would suggest doing before this drops on the 27th. That's going to be it though, guys. I appreciate all of you for watching this one. See you in the next video. Peace.